This is Algebra 1, lesson 7.3, doing solving systems by using a combination method. This is part number 2. We're picking up on the last example problem we had. When we combine these, we multiplied this whole first equation by 2. We got 10x minus 8y equals 6, and then we were able to eliminate 8y and negative 8y. So 12x equals 4. Then we got x equals 1/3. Remember, you have to plug in 1/3 in place of one of the equations. It doesn't matter which one you plug it into. Now, what you're going to want to try to do, since you're dealing with a fraction 1/3, you're going to want to try to plug it into something that you can take a third of it. In this case, we have 5x, 2x, and 10x. None of them we're going to be able to take a third of. So it's not going to make a difference. So plug it in to one of the equations. If they all look the same, or if you have to choose between the first and second one, just plug it into the first one. 5 times x, or 5 times 1/3, minus 4y is equal to 3 then. This is over 1, so straight across, 5 times 1 is 5, and 1 times 3 is 3. Minus 4y is equal to 3. It's been quite some time, but when you have problems like this, if you want to eliminate the 3, the divided by 3 part, remember we can multiply everything in a problem by 3. We can multiply this by 3, this by 3, and this by 3. We're going to create bigger numbers, but we're going to get rid of the fraction to where we can solve it easier. So that leaves us with 5. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12y, and 3 times 3 is 9. Again, look, we got rid of the fractions. So in order to get y by itself, subtract 5 on both sides. 9 minus 5 is 4. So we have negative 12y is equal to that. Then divide by negative 12 on both sides. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. 4 goes into both of these. It goes into itself once and into 12 3 times. So y then is negative 1/3. X comma y is the solution. 1/3, negative 1/3. That is the ordered pair, which is the solution of the system. Then we have two checkpoint problems, number 4 and 5. 4x plus y is equal to negative 4. Negative 4x plus 2y equals 16. Do we have opposite terms here? Yes or no? We got 4x and negative 4x. When we combine those, they eliminate. When we combine 1y and 2y, what do we get? 1y compared with 2y, or combined with 2y is how much? 3y. When I combine negative 4 and 16, what do I get? 12. How do I get y by itself? Divide by what? 3. What's 12 divided by 3? Y's value then is 4. So we got y. All we got to do is plug y's value in 4 into one of the equations. If they look the same, plug it into the first one where you don't make a mistake. So right here in place of y. 4x plus, instead of y now, 4 equals negative 4. Get rid of plus 4 by subtracting 4 on both sides. 4x then is equal to negative 8 when you subtract 4. How do you get x by itself? Divide by 4. When you divide both sides by 4, a negative divided by positive is a negative. 8 divided by 4 is 2. X comma y is going to be the solution, negative 2, 4. That is the solution. That is the ordered pair. That is the point where both of those equations will cross each other. 7x plus y equals 2. 5x plus 2y equals 4. Do we have opposite terms now? 7 and 5, are those opposite of each other? 1 and 2, are those opposite? No. So is it easier to make 7 and 5 into the number 35, or is it easier to make 1 and 2 into the number 2? 1 and 2 making into the number 2 would be much simpler. So we have 2y on the bottom. We want to make this top one into negative 2y. In order to do that, we need to multiply it by negative 2. So that times 7x is negative 14x. That times y is negative 2y. That times 2 is negative 4. Now we have opposite terms. 5x combined with negative 14x is negative 9x. What is 2y combined with negative 2y? None y's. We got rid of them. What's 4 combined with negative 4? 0. How do I get x by itself? With 0 divided by anything? X then is 0. So we got x. Now we need to find y's value. Plug it into one of the equations. Doesn't matter which one. The top one is going to wind up being easier if we use that one. So instead of 7 times x, 7 times 0 plus y equals 2. Anything times 0 will eliminate that part, and we have something that says y equals 2. X comma y, 0, 2. That is the point where if you graph those two equations in a system on the same plane, they will cross at 0, 2. So up till this point, everything's been stacked nice and neatly. On this next example, you take in two equations that are not stacked nice and neatly. 3y is equal to negative 6 minus 4x, and 7x plus 3y equals negative 15. You have to rearrange one of them to where they're stacked on top of each other. It tells you to rearrange equation 1. Notice equation 2 is in standard form. AX plus BY equals C. So it wants you to make standard form. You can choose to make any form you want. So in order to rearrange this, we need to move negative 4x from the right side to the left side. Remember, if it crosses over the equal sign, if it was negative 4x on the right, if it crosses to the other side, what does it become? Negative 4x becomes what? Pay attention, everybody. If negative 4x goes from the right to the left, what does it become? Positive 4x. And you can see here it says positive 4x plus 3y is equal to negative 16. Now they're stacked. X is on top of x's, y is on top of y's, constants on top of constants. Now you have to ask yourself, do you have opposite coefficients? No, 4 and 7 are not opposites, and 3 and 3 are not opposites. 3 and 3 are close. One of them just has to be negative. So in order to make opposite coefficients, it tells you to multiply the second equation by negative 1. Anytime you multiply something by negative 1, you distribute it to all three terms. All of the signs are simply going to change. Positive 7x is going to become negative 7x. 3y is going to become negative 3y. And negative 15 times a negative 1 is going to become a positive 15. Now, in this part here, now we have opposite terms stacked on top of each other. When we combine them, 4x combined with negative 7x is going to give us negative 3x. 3y combined with negative 3y is going to eliminate and give us 0y. And negative 6 combined with 15 gives us 9. In order to get x by itself, we divide both sides by negative 3. 9 divided by negative 3 is negative 3. So x's value is negative 3. Once you got that, plug it back in or substitute it back in to one of the equations. It says to substitute it back into equation number 2. So instead of 7 times x, 7 times negative 3. Plus 3y is equal to negative 15. 7 times negative 3 is negative 21. So they probably left this next step off. Negative 21 plus 3y equals negative 15. Add 21 to both sides, and you get 3y is equal to 6. And divide by 3 on both sides, and you get y's values equal to 2. So when you have y's value is 2, we already had x's value was negative 3, x comma y, negative 3 comma 2 is the solution. Okay, off to the side one more time. Let's solve this system. Notice they are not stacked correctly on top of each other. Move one or both of them to make it match. Then look for opposite terms. Make them if you need to. Solve for one of the variables. Sub it back in and solve for the other. Take 1 minute. Again, for this one, they're not stacked on top of each other correctly. You have x's on top of x's, you got y's on top of y's, and you got constants on top of constants. But notice your equal sign is not stacked in the correct spot. So you can't put them together without moving that equal sign. But don't think of it as moving the equal sign. Think of it as moving the term from one side to the other, one of the terms or multiple terms. And the reason I say that is because when a term moves from one side to the other, you know you need to change its sign. If it's negative, it becomes positive, and positive, negative. So if we want to make the first equation look like the second equation, the only term that needs to move then is this negative 6y. It needs to move over. So if that one moves over, 3x is still first. Then you have, it goes from negative 6y to positive 6y because it went across the equal sign. And 12 doesn't move. So now everything is stacked correctly. Now you need to check to see if you have opposite terms. Or opposite coefficients is a better way to say that. Negative 1x is not opposite of 3x. 3y is not opposite of 6y. One of those pairs has to be opposites. So you can either choose to make negative 1 and 3 both into negative 3, or you could choose to make 3y and 6y both into 6 and negative 6. It's about the same no matter which way you go. It's probably easier to make this one, to make these into 6 and negative 6. We'll deal with slightly smaller numbers in the long run. If we want to do that, since we already have 6y on the bottom, we want to make negative 6y on the top. So what do we need to multiply 3 by to become negative 6? 3 times what to get negative 6? Negative 2. So if we distribute negative 2 times negative x, we get positive 2x. If we multiply negative 2 times 3y, we get negative 6y. That was the goal we were trying to get. And if we multiply negative 2 times 6, we get negative 12. Now, as we look at these two equations, and notice I draw a line on the top and the bottom to where you could focus on the correct 2, do we have opposite coefficients? 3y and 2y, when I combine those, what do I get? I said y, I meant x, excuse me, 5x. 6y and negative 6y, what do we get? None y's, we got rid of them. What about 12 and negative 12? 0 again. So now we want to get x by itself. We divide by 5. X is what? 0 divided by anything is 0. So now we got x is equal to 0. Plug x back in to get y. It doesn't matter which equation you plug it back into. The first equation, 3 times 0 equals negative 6y plus 12. Anything times 0 is 0. Is negative 6y plus 12. How do we get y by itself? We want y equals all by itself. What do we do? It says plus 12. How do you undo that? Minus 12. We do it there. We do it here. What's 0 minus 12? Negative 12 equals, we still got negative 6y. How do you get y by itself? Divide by what? Negative 6. You're going to do the same here. What's the negative divided by negative? Positive 12 divided by 6 is 2. Y's value then is 2. X comma y is your solution. 0, 2 is the solution. That is the point, that when you graph both equations, they intercept each other or they cross. And then there are 2 checkpoint problems to go. These are not stacked correctly. X is not on top of x. Y is not on top of y. Constant's not on top of constant. So we want that to happen. We want to make that happen. What do we need to move? You can move one of them. You can move both of them. It's probably easier just to move one. So there's no, and the reason I keep saying what do we need to move is because there's no right, absolutely have to do it right answer. You can do it multiple different ways as long as you eliminate one of the variables. So in order to do that, we can move over we could change our first equation to make it look like our second equation. If we do that, we want x to go to the other side of the equal sign, and we want negative 8 to go to the other side of the equal sign. That'll leave us with negative 3y on the left equals negative 8. When it goes from the left to the right, it becomes positive 8. X, when it goes from the left to the right, it becomes negative x. So now we got everything stacked correctly. Do we have opposite terms? No. We could either make 4 and 3 into 12 and negative 12, or we could make 3 and 1 into 3 and negative 1. That'll be, I'm sorry, 3 and negative 3. So we can either choose to do that. So since negative 3x is already negative 3x, let's make the second equation, this one right here, let's make negative 1x into positive 3x. What do I need to multiply negative 1 by to get positive 3? That's right. A negative times a negative is a positive. So this times negative 3 will give me what I want. Negative 3 times negative 3y is positive 9y equals negative 3 times 8 is negative 24, and negative 3 times negative 1x is positive 3x. I'm going to rewrite the other equation where we don't lose it right here. 4y equals 11 minus 3x. Now when we look at both equations, do we have opposite terms somewhere? Do we have opposite coefficients? 3x and negative 3x. When we combine those two together, what do we get? We eliminate the x's. When we combine 9y and 4y together, what do we get? 13y. What about negative 24 and 11? Negative what? 13. How do I get y by itself? Divide by 13. Y is what? Negative 1. Once you have y is negative 1, you sub it back in to get x's value. X minus negative 3 times negative 1 minus 8 is 0. Negative times a negative is a positive 3 minus 8 is 0. 3 minus 8, x minus 5 is 0. Add 5, x is 5. X, comma 1, 5, negative 1 is the solution.